Welcome, everybody, to the Channel Vision Magazine webinar featuring MACH Networks and Cradlepoint. Now, they say the transition from analog to LTE is happening now, and they want to know what's your plan. I'm your moderator, Bruce Christian, Senior Editor of Channel Vision Magazine. Our presenters are Don Ochoa, CEO of MACH Networks, and Tony Puopolo, Vice President of Cradlepoint. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thanks for having us.
So with that, let me turn it over to Don and Tony.
Well, great. Thank you very much for having us. I'm Don Ochoa, CEO of MACH Networks. We're very excited to present our award-winning new POTS replacement solution called Aries. And with me is Tony Puopolo. I'll let him introduce himself.
Thanks, Don. This is Tony Puopolo, Vice President of Sales for Cradlepoint, and excited to present with you and go through the offering.
Great. Well, this really kind of all started when the FCC made some changes as to what's going to be happening in the near future. They placed out a new order that said POTS lines will need to be replaced with an alternative service by August 2nd of 2022. Now, we don't know if that will be put off until a later date or if they're gonna enforce it to the absolute rule of the law. But what we do know is that if you don't have a plan, you're gonna be behind the eight ball. And we created this product to make sure that we have solutions for elevators, alarm panels, and so on to really help enterprises and SMB customers get in front of this. So why is this important now? Well, what they're really saying is they don't want to have new copper deployments after August 2nd. Of the coming year of 2022. But what it's also saying is that they're deregulating the price controls that were in place for copper so that prices are going up. They're going up quickly. They used to be $15 or $20 a month, but in some places in the country, they're $100, $125, even $150 a month because the carriers are really trying to push people off that very old, antiquated, and expensive to operate technology. And right now, this is just beginning, so the customers really need to make some decisions of what to do and how they want to do it. Our proposal here is to use LTE, use either LTE or 5G services as they become available, and really have a really clean migration path off of the old analog technology to new IP-based technology. What we're really looking at here is something that's not designed to replace desktop phones. That's not what we're after. That's a very competitive space. We don't play well in it. We're not cost effective for something like that. We don't have all the features and functionality. But what we really do a good job is, these what we call specialty lines. Aries stands for Analog Replacement Solutions, and that is really designed to focus on fire alarms, call boxes, elevators, meters, emergency calls, alarms, point of sale, HVAC, fax, these type of applications that are really data-centric as opposed to voice-centric lines where your phone's going to ring on your desk, you're going to answer and have an hour-long conversation. We believe this market is huge. As you can imagine, if you have a fire alarm in your building or an elevator, you're going to need to upgrade that system. And our mission here is to make that upgrade as quick and easy as possible. So where we are today is pretty neat. We're really at kind of the beginning of the curve. It's less than a year out before these changes take effect, but we're starting to see a pretty crazy rush right now to people companies starting to look for alternative solutions to their old analog or copper lines. Again, our mission is to provide dial tone to the customer premise. And if we can do that over an IP technology and support these type of applications, that puts us in a really good position. It's important to note here that we don't do this directly. We don't sell to end customers directly. We have a partner channel, either the service provider community. I think we really kind of really grew our place in the industry with the service providers, where we're providing what was initially wireless failover, then SD-WAN connectivity, now landline replacement and things like analog replacement solutions for the service provider community. And this is something that they white label this as their own and take it to market. But we also support the channel community, the master agents and value-added resellers who are out there who have these customers who need to make these type of changes to their network. It's pretty early in the cycle today, but as you can see on this chart, it rapidly goes up and to the right. And again, if you do have these specialty lines, if you do have an elevator, if you do have an alarm panel, you need a plan. Whether it's with us or somebody else, you do need a plan. So a little bit about MACH. We're really focused on one thing, providing fully managed enterprise class wireless WAN solutions to SMBs and enterprises. Again, we do that through the service provider and agent community. We don't do direct sales on our own, so you don't have to worry about competing with us. And by the way, that's all we do. We're not really good at other things, but we're very, very good at wireless WAN solutions. We typically stock the devices, we fulfill the orders, we activate, configure, test, and ship the routers off, but we only ship them off once they've been tested in our facility. We provide all the ongoing technical support. We provide all the data usage alarms and alerts on a daily basis. We really provide a fully managed solution. We've been doing this for over 10 years, and we have tens of thousands of devices out there today just for failover alone, but we've scaled well above and beyond that. And by doing that, we're trying to help lower the total cost of ownership to the service providers and other entities who may want to try and do this on their own. The other thing that's key here is that we have these devices, these solutions in stock and ready to go. We have thousands of pieces of thousands of routers in stock. If you have an order that needs to be fulfilled today, not in 6 months, not in 3 months, not in a year, we can fulfill it, and we can do it very, very quickly. And again, the technology that we're running with here is based on Cradlepoint. It's the best-in-class device. I know Tony will tell you more about that in just a moment, but we really are trying to lead with an enterprise-class solution, a best-in-class solution with best-in-class components. And the manageability of these devices is key. If my perspective is that you cannot have a fully managed solution without enterprise class management capabilities. And nobody does that better than Cradlepoint. And when you do work with MACH, these are some of the things that are included: the free stocking of devices, free activation, free configuration, free technical support. That's all built into the cost of the data plan. And I think you'll find that our data plans are in line with the carriers are offering direct, if not better. So we feel like we're in a very good position and really going after a market here that the carriers want to go after, but they just want to go after from the connectivity part of the equation. We want to provide a complete, comprehensive, fully managed solution. And I'll turn this over to Tony. He can tell you a little bit more about Cradlepoint.
Thanks, Don. And so one of the things we want to just kind of talk about for just a moment here is, who is Cradlepoint? Well, then we'll get to kind of why did MACH choose Cradlepoint and why we partnered together on this. But first of all, who is Cradlepoint? Right, we are the leader in wireless WAN in the industry worldwide. So we're in 75% of the world's retailers. We're in 100% of the U.S. cities and a lot of smart city initiatives there. 18,000 active customers. We have millions of devices under management by the largest companies in the world. And recently, last year, about a year ago, we were purchased by Ericsson, the leader in 4G and 5G worldwide for radio access networks that all the major carriers use. So not only do we have the technology, the radios, but all the way going down to the endpoint. So that's a little bit who is Cradlepoint. Hey, Don, let's go to the next slide. And then you think about, well, okay, maybe I haven't heard of Cradlepoint. Maybe this is, so wanted to talk, where are we, right? Where do you see Cradlepoint? Well, if you were taking any of the MTA buses in Seattle, King County, the BART in San Francisco, New York MTA, any bus in New York or subway, you're going to find Cradlepoint in all of those. We are the Wi-Fi in those. If you went to get your coffee in the morning, we're going to give you the backup network for all the major coffee stores in the United States. The digital signage in New York and Times Square, if you looked up and saw that, or in Las Vegas, you see that the digital signs on the side of the casinos and the cameras on the side of that recording it. Almost next, police responders, first responders. Almost every police officer has a car with a Cradlepoint in it. So if you ever see anybody with those cameras on their chest, that camera is transmitting through a Cradlepoint in police vehicles. So that's how the video gets up to the cloud as through a Cradlepoint. in the like Whataburger down there in primary routing. So and then every red box, Coinstar machine, et cetera, you're going to see a Cradlepoint. So it's kind of who we are and where are we, pretty much everywhere. And so I'll kind of get us to our next slide, and my last slide here. This is really, why Cradlepoint? Why did MACH and Cradlepoint partner together on this? Well, what we have is we have hundreds of engineers developing our cloud platform so that you have the most reliable connectivity, right? The POTS replacements is only as good as the connectivity. As you have to have your fire panels, your alarm systems, they have to stay connected. Well, we have a Net Cloud Manager with a near 100% uptime for our cloud management. We have, again, hundreds of engineers working on this, full support system behind it, hardware that spans, so if you went to MACH and said, hey, I want my solution to not just do my alarm panels, but I want to do more with it. I want to actually look at 4G and maybe even upgrade to 5G migration path, right? So I'm going to start with a 4G solution now, but I might want to back up my whole solution, my whole retail outlet with 4G, or going now 4G today, and I want 5G maybe next year, but I want to replace the whole thing. You can do that with MACH and Cradlepoint in their Aries solution. So some really cool 4G today and 5G, or even 5G today. We have full 5G today on all the solutions if it's something you want to go with. And one of the greatest parts of Cradlepoint is, you have to have security, right? As you go to IP, security becomes a big focus. And one of the great things with Cradlepoint is we're the only wireless WAN router with the full PCI compliant cloud system, right? So our full cloud system is full PCI tested. We do FIPS certification. We do military certification. I was looking at a picture of Joe Biden doing a presentation the other day, and saw he had a Cradlepoint underneath the webcam. He was doing a video call over the Cradlepoint. And that's because we do full military certification. We're in military establishments across the globe. And we do third-party penetration testing on all of our devices, all of our cloud, so that that as you move to IP with MACH and the Aries solution, we're going to make sure that connectivity piece is secure and always up. And so kind of some exciting, cool technologies, and I'll hand it back to Don here for the follow-up.
Well, thank you very much, Tony. And I want to point out a couple things. Our Aries solution is only built on Cradlepoint. We've made a very conscious decision. We're not going to scatter this around and say we're going to be agnostic to whoever wants to bring hardware to us. This has to be a best-of-breed solution. This has to have enterprise-class management. It has to have world-class security. So we made a very conscious decision to really focus on Cradlepoint for this solution. And as you can see, and probably the badge to the right, we are an elite partner. And that means that we not only have sold tens of thousands of devices, but we have certification level pretty much unmatched in other places across the country. We have 5 Cradlepoint certified professionals on our tech support team and 3 Cradlepoint certified experts on our tech support team. So we are all in with Cradlepoint on this, and it's for good reason, but I did want to point that out. So this is a little bit about Aries. It is MFVN compliant with the NFPA 72 model. Basically, it tells you that we are compliant with the regulations associated with becoming a telecom for these type of solutions, for the licenses, for the registration, for the compliance of fire alarms and codes for those type of things. We also make sure that we configure each device based on the application. So what that really means is if you have a fax machine, you're going to have a slightly different configuration than a fire alarm. And if you have an elevator, you're going to have a slightly different configuration than a fax machine or a call box. And that whole circle continues all the way around. So we make sure that we really configure these devices based specifically on the application to make sure they're as effective as possible. Our solution is patent pending with a custom software that was developed in-house, and it's always going to be under it's always going to be getting updated, much like NetCloud is always going to be getting bigger, better, faster. Ours is as well. But again, we are only basing this solution on best-in-class Cradlepoint routers. We have had tremendous success with them with the service provider community. We're actually working on one opportunity where the customer wants a Cradlepoint-based solution. So really, really puts us in a good position by working with these best-in-class services. When you combine that with the best carriers in the nation, AT&T and Verizon Wireless, it gives you something pretty unique to go to market with. We provide all the ongoing monitoring and technical support. So we not only monitor the devices, by the way, but we monitor the data plans and the usage on a daily basis. And we'll actually send you daily usage alarms and alerts. So you're never surprised at the end of the month by getting this big overage bill. We're one of the few companies out there that looks at overage as a problem, not a profit center. And we do have a whole group of nationwide certified technicians to go install these. We will not touch the customer premise equipment, but we will get these things installed at the customer premise, but it's up to the customer. I just want to be clear on this, to connect those to their fire alarm panels or their elevators. And then, of course, we offer lifetime warranty and support for these solutions as well. And we actually even offer an OpEx model that you can build into this if you can't afford to buy the equipment outright. This is just a quick snapshot of some of the devices, the Cradlepoint devices that we include. If it's just a 2-port solution with maybe an elevator, we have the Cradlepoint 200 that we use. If you need an additional Ethernet port, or you need failover, or you need a little bit more horsepower, we have the Cradlepoint 650C. If you need something that's upgradable to 5G, or can even be ordered with 5G, we offer those solutions as well. But the point is here, we are FCC approved as a life safety connection, the underwriter UL listed and approved, and we are code compliant in the United States, all 50 states and Canada. And again, we're not waiting until we get orders to get this stuff in-house. We understand that there are some deliverable issues with some of the other companies that are out there. So we have pre-ordered plenty of equipment, and we have a ton of it in stock in our warehouse in Carlsbad, just waiting to be deployed. So you're not going to have to wait 3 to 6 months to get a solution out to your customers. And this is a snapshot. The real demark for us is a 66 block, which is really where the Talco connections come in, the old analog connections. In our box, in ruggedized enclosure, there's the ATA with 2, 4, or 8 ports. There's the Cradlepoint router. There's a 24-hour battery backup, and those are all connected to our the mobile cell carrier, AT&T or Verizon Wireless, which is in turn connected over the internet to Cloud BBX and the public switch telephone network. And this is a unique model because we also allow you to bring your own soft switch. So let's say you don't want to use our instance of the soft switch or PBX. Let's just say you have your own Metaswitch account or your own NetSapient account or your own BroadSoft account. We port that for you at no cost to the device, and we don't have to charge you for using ours. You can use yours. That's really of interest to the service providers who are out there and they already have their own soft switch. They don't want to go buy it from somebody else. So that's kind of a unique offering that we have as well. I kind of talked about this already, but price and performance are equally important here, as is security and some of the manageability and so on. But traditional copper lines are only going to go up in price. So it's really critical for us to offer something that gives you not only cost savings today, but gives you a long-term solution over the next 3, 5, 10 years. And that's what this is designed to do. We did win an award, Best Emerging Technology, and it was this year, and it was based on our Aries solution. Very excited about this. I think it lends a little bit more credibility to how powerful this solution is. And it really is a best-in-class solution as per Channel Vision as well. So we're pretty excited about this. And right now we've done really well with failover, and we've really done really well with SD-WAN and landline replacement. But this is one that's really starting to emerge as a superstar for MACH, and we'd love to get this in your hands. So between MACH and Cradlepoint, we think we have you covered. It's lower operational costs for your customers, best-in-class hardware. You're not going to worry about that, as well as the service and support and management capabilities. We can install this anywhere in the U.S. within a matter of days, not weeks or months. It does support legacy equipment, so if they have an old fire alarm panel or a old elevator, no problem. We're just going to connect the analog connections that they're using today to the 66 block, and then our equipment takes over. We do offer that bring your own soft switch option. We make it very easy to install, and it's all inclusive. And in fact, we don't tack on a whole bunch of other fees. Yeah, there's taxes, but that's what the government tells us we have to do. We don't create our own taxes. We don't have any recovery fees. We keep it nice and simple and clean so that you know what you're getting and you know what you're paying for. And with that, I'd like to open it up to questions. That's pretty much all we have from a perspective of introducing you to Aries.
Okay, Don, thank you very much. Before we get to questions, though, do you want to share with attendees how they can reach you?
Sure. On my screen, I have my cell number. That's actually my cell number at 858-243-1384. Or you can just send me an email to dochoa, D-O-C-H-O-A, at MACH-Networks.com. Be happy to talk to you. Our sales team is also available. So if you want to just reach out to MACH Networks at 866-972-7677, we can get in front of somebody as well.
Okay. And what about you, Tony? Do you want to share contact information?
Happy to. Send me an email at Tony P, T-O-N-Y, P as in Peter, Tony P at Cradlepoint.com. Happy to chat and work with you and get you in touch with anyone over at MACH as necessary.
Okay, great. So, guys, are you ready for some questions?
Hit us with some hard ones.
Well, we'll try.
What do we got?
Well, first of all, can this solution be used to replace desktop phones?
No, it cannot. It's really not designed for that. It's really for specialty lines only, elevators, alarm panels, call boxes, and things like that.
Okay. Now, I think you mentioned it a couple of times, but can you repeat which carriers are supporting Aries?
Yeah, right now we currently offer services on AT&T and Verizon Wireless, both 4G and 5G. And we are in the process of adding T-Mobile as we speak. It is worth noting here that if you do get an Aries solution from us, we will cross-pool Verizon and AT&T for you. So if you have 50 lines on AT&T and 50 lines on Verizon, we will actually cross-pool those together so you have a pool of 100 lines with MACH Networks.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And here's someone wants to know how he upgrades to 5G.
That would be pretty straightforward, actually. So a lot of the Cradlepoint products, not all of them, but a lot of them are modular. So all we'd have to do is pull out the modem of the device and then plug in a 5G modem, and you're off and running. You don't have to do any new configuration changes with regard to the phone number, the DID, or E911 or anything like that. The alternative is we just pull the entire router out of the box and plop in a Cradlepoint 5G router, and you're good to go. It's a very simple transition, and it doesn't interrupt anything that is already pre-configured.
Okay. Do you offer an OPEX or hardware as a service model?
Yes, we do. We offer two models. One of them is you can outright buy the hardware, but the other one is an OPEX model where it's basically like a rental program almost, where you'd pay a fixed monthly fee for the hardware, and then once the contract is terminated, you just have to return that equipment to MACH Networks. In that case, the equipment stays in, it belongs to MACH Networks. It stays in our inventory, and we're renting it out for use to our customers. So, yes, we offer both models.
Okay. Now, there was, you mentioned there were no additional charges or anything, but one person wants to know if there are any hidden fees associated with this solution.
No, and that's what's great about it. We're going to give you a price or quote, and that's going to be it. Aside from any federal or state taxes that we may have to collect, we don't even have our own recovery fee, which we could, but we don't. We decided to kind of make it as simple and clean as possible. So all the fills are built into the monthly price plan, and there's nothing added on after that.
Okay. Here's another question. Why would I consider going to 5G versus 4G with my Aries solution?
Yeah, I can probably take that one. So one of the great things about going to 5G versus 4G, it is more expensive to start with a 5G solution, but it's a future proof, right? So just future-proofing your solution. The carriers are constantly coming out with more and more bands. They spend billions of dollars at each auction on new bands. And so the latest generation 5G modems are going to carry those bands. So it's going to get you more bandwidth, more resilience as the networks change. So just, as a future-proof.
And I'd like to add that these type of solutions, they really don't use a lot of data. So you don't need to get these 10 gig plans for each device. I know you may have heard that from other places, but you really don't. You just don't use that much data. So you're going to have quite a long time to be able to use LTE because you're not going to need a lot of speed or a lot of bandwidth because the data utilization is pretty low on these type of applications.
Yeah, I completely agree with Don on this. I mean, if it's purely for POTS replacement, the 4G solutions are going to be a phenomenal solution for you. If you're looking at potentially doing full network backup with the Aries, additionally with that, that's where you'd really want to kind of consider that and have that conversation with your MACH representative of it. Does that make sense for you and your business?
Okay. Well, now I know you've mentioned AT&T and Verizon Wireless, but this individual wants to know if you can use multiple carriers with Cradlepoint to make sure that if one carrier is not working, the solution would use the second carrier.
Oh, that's a good question.
Absolutely. Yep. Go ahead, Tony.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So as Don said, they support both the Verizon and AT&T networks. And inside Cradlepoint, you have two options. You can actually have a dual SIM option, which enables you to kind of pick the best carrier for the location, or you can do a dual modem option, which gives you the ability to have multiple carriers. Again, and this is more about resilience, and also, am I going to do more than just POTS solutions in there? Do I want to do more with that network? Do I want to have that? And MACH will be able to provide you those options and really talk through with you what's the best choice for your business.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What about does Cradlepoint and MACH offer solutions to protect me from data overages if we wanted to do more than POTS replacement?
Absolutely. So again, one of the things that we're really, really good at, we kind of hang our hat on it, to tell you the truth, is that the service providers that we work with don't have to worry about these huge overages because we monitor their data usage very, very well and very aggressively. We'll send them daily usage alarms and alerts. Whether they look at them or not, that's kind of on them, but we send them so they're never surprised. And we'll even reach out and say, hey, look, you're going to have an overage issue here. We recommend at least temporarily you increase your pool size to X so that you don't get hit with overage charges, because increasing your pool size is much more cost effective than paying for overage. Then we have a way to just ratchet that back down to the original amount at the beginning of the next billing cycle, so you're not stuck paying on a higher plan. But absolutely, managing the data plans is just as important as managing the devices. And we have that figured out and fully automated from our team as well.
Interesting. Okay. This question, you're going to have to listen carefully, I think. Telco conversions from copper to fiber and the simulated dial tone that results are too compressed for contact ID alarm signals to reliably pass, resulting in lost signals or even false signals. Is this less compressed?
Well, we can figure this thing to optimize how these things operate. So each one of those has a different level of, let's call it compression or configuration or certain bits that are set. So each one of these are optimized to maximize that. It may never be perfect, especially with some of the really, really old systems. But what we did is we bought a couple of simulators. For example, we bought a fire alarm simulator that has the 10 most common versions of fire alarms that are out there to make sure it was working properly. Now, there's always going to be something out there that may be a little bit weird, but we have ways to address those on a case-by-case basis. But the good news is what we've tested and worked with really covers about 90% of the equipment, 95% of the equipment that's out there today.
Okay. And Don, this is a question specifically asking for you. He wants to know what's the ideal VAR or partner for MACH. He's curious in terms of volume and or commitments required.
We don't really have a volume commitment. Obviously, if you're going to have 10,000 lines of service with us, you're probably going to pay a different price than the guy that has 100 lines with us. But we don't, we don't force requirements on you. What we do is we do give you pricing breaks as your volume gets higher and higher. But we don't want to put you at a disadvantage to getting started, because what if you're a smaller company who only does 10 lines of service, but then you come across a 10,000 unit deal? Well, it doesn't do us any good to penalize you for that. So we have different tiers that you kind of earn your way up to, but it's the same price for all our partners. And these partners really include service providers like CBTS, for example, or Windstream, or somebody like that. Master agents or telecom agents or value-added resellers. Those are our channels. That's who sells these for us. And again, we're not going to force any false promises from you that you may or may not be able to keep, but we are going to give you the chance to get better pricing as these tiers are hit.
Okay. We have a couple of questions left here. What are the implications of not upgrading POTS?
Well, that's really an FCC question, right? Because I could tell you what the mandate says, what the mandate number is, but we can't tell you what they're going to enforce and what they're not. I mean, if you look a few years ago when the carrier said, we're not going to give out any more public static IPs, for example, right? They kind of created a bit of a panic out there. However, when it came time to do it, they kind of eased off on that a little bit, realizing that, it wasn't fair to their customer base. So I can't tell you what the FCC is going to do, but they did put a date out there, and deregulation has already occurred. Prices are already going up. But are they going to enforce that August 2nd date? I don't really know. It's really up to everybody to go read the FCC bulletins that are out there and see what they have to say. But we do know at least there's a line in the sand that companies have to look at now and they have to consider as far as moving forward with their network solutions.
Okay. Let me add to that, Don, because what we're seeing is customers coming in. When I've talked with some of the customers looking for POT solutions, what they're seeing is enormous bill increases month to month, right? So they've got vendors coming in with their original POTS lines, and because they're no longer under contract to provide a contracted price, they're raising the price sometimes 50%, 100%, 300% in some cases. And they're doing it without even sharing any information about it. People just get their bill and they'll see a 300% increase in their bill from month to month and saying, what happened? Where'd this go? And it's a lot of the vendors for POTS are doing massive price increases. So it's important to start to think ahead before that happens to you, that you're not waiting until that starts happening to your POTS lines.
Yeah, that's a direct result of the deregulation that's occurring today.
Interesting. The last question I have right now is what really makes the Aries solution different and unique from other POTS alternative solutions in the marketplace?
A, it's built on a single source solution. Basically, we're committed to Cradlepoint to use their devices because they are best in class. B, it's in it's in an enclosure. I want to say waterproof, but it's really not, because we drill a couple holes in the bottom just so you can plug it into the wall. But we put it in an enclosure that makes it easily upgradable. If you need to add another ATA, you need to go from a 2-port to a 4-port or an 8-port ATA, you can do that by just swapping out that part of the devices that are in the enclosure. If you need to go from 4G to 5G, or if you want to add failover, you either swap out the modem that's in the Cradlepoint router, or you swap out the router itself. So the flexibility is really good, really, really interesting here. And from a price perspective, it's very cost effective as well. And another huge component is the ability to bring your own soft switch. Let's say you have your own meta switch you want to use. You don't want to use ours. No problem. We'll let you do that. You let us know what you want. If you want to use ours, fantastic. If you want to use your own, no problem. We're here to provide the solution, really the device, the enclosure with all the components in it and the wiring all wired up and all the antennas and the data plans, and then the soft switch itself. That's really up to you. But as long as you provide the hardware, the solution, and the data plans, we're going to give you a very, very well supported, well managed solution.
Okay. I got another question that came up. She wants to know what the price range on the ATAs and devices. Do you want to answer that, or?
that's really done on a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
So we have to talk to you about your requirements because it really varies. You know, do you need a Cradlepoint 200? Do you need a 650C? Do you need a Cradlepoint, you know, E300 or E100? It all depends. Do you want a 2-port ATA, 4-port, or 8-port? All those things really matter. Do you want our soft switch, or do you want to use your soft switch? So really, and I'm not trying to, you know, divert the question another direction. It really depends on what you need. So it's the kind of thing, you give us a call, we'll discuss your requirements, and we'll give you a call pricing, but it's basically going to be on a case-by-case basis.
Okay, great, man. And I think that's going to wrap up today's webinar. I want to thank Don Ochoa, CEO of MACH Networks, and Tony Puopolo, Vice President of Cradlepoint. Thank you, gentlemen, for being with us.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Bruce.
Sure. Now, before we go, I want to remind you about our webinar rewards program. By attending this webinar, you automatically are enrolled in the Channel Vision Webinar Rewards program. Just keep an eye out for monthly prize drawings. For information on the program and to see what kinds of prizes you can win, visit our website, channelvisionmag.com/webinar rewards. And remember, you can access this webinar and all other Channel Vision productions on demand by visiting our website, which is channelvisionmag.com. And now from all of us at Channel Vision Magazine, thank you for attending and have a safe and prosperous day.